Hello, hello, hello. We have coming on and getting ready to start as we look to see who is coming on. We will begin in just a moment. We have about 2 minutes before we will be starting, but I want to welcome you all. I'm going to find the lupus dietitian so we can begin on time. Y'all know I'm so here we go. I'll let you all. There you go. Hey there, Tanya. How
Hi. I never remember all the buttons to press for Instagram lives.
it's so weird. I set it for to start and then it magically started for me.
Great.
How are
Well,
you?
I'm really good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I cannot complain. I cannot complain. All is well. You can't really make anything more of it, right?
Yeah. Well, you've been busy lately. I see tons of posts.
Yeah, I'm probably too busy. But I
Nice.
welcome everybody in. I see some people are joining in online. This particular healthy kitchen is going to be here live on Instagram, and then I will share it later on YouTube and Facebook. And we're going to be talking about stress eating and different things and activities that we can do to prevent doing some of the bad things. I, cause us some flares and things of that nature. And we have Tanya, the lupus dietitian, with
Hi.
us, and she'll be giving us some tips and ideas as to how we can stay a little bit healthy as we go through the holiday season. So, Tanya, tell me a little bit about yourself first. So, for
Sure.
people that don't know you, you're my resident dietitian. But for people who don't know you, let us know a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I love being a guest on your Healthy Kitchen and sharing all sorts of tips with as many people as can watch them. Healthy eating is obviously something that's really important for everyone to do. So, my background is a registered dietitian. I did my undergraduate, my master's in nutrition. So, I've been doing this for a long time. Um, oh my goodness, going on 20 years since I started in the nutrition field. Yeah. So I really, really love helping people figure out what they can do on a daily basis that helps them feel their best too. In particular, I have lupus myself. So I was diagnosed with lupus 8 years ago. And since I had already been in the nutrition field for so long, I was like, I know that there's something I can be doing to help myself. But it's not very well known. I mean, if you Google, especially a decade ago, lupus diet, there really wasn't great information out there. So I really had to dig into the research. And now I have a private practice that is dedicated solely to helping people with lupus and autoimmune diseases, yeah, help themselves feel their best. Um,
I love it that you're that you have lupus, number one, and that you're honing in to help other lupus warriors, really learn how their body responds to food.
Yeah. So once I implemented everything for myself, I can knock on wood. I'm doing the best I can. I can say that I have been symptom and flare free for about 7 years. So it's definitely possible to feel a whole lot better. And of course, I want everyone to feel much better.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what stress eating is. I know emotional eating. I know, eating because you're bored. Tell me about what stress eating really is.
Yes. So I will say that the holiday time is prime time for stress eating because it's a stressful time of year in terms of maybe your budget, the time constraints. There's a lot of events going on. And granted, some of those are quite happy, but so there's just kind of an environment of a little bit more stress or tension, especially if maybe there's some family stuff going on or loved one stuff going on. Then once it's in the setting of the holidays, it gets even more stressful. So stress eating can happen all year round. It doesn't have to happen during the holidays. The holidays are just kind of turn up the volume in terms of stress. But oftentimes people are emotional eating, and not necessarily emotion in a bad way. Sometimes people, when they're happy, they go for a snack. When they're sad, they go for a snack. When they're celebrating, they think food should be a part of it. And they just created that connection, which isn't always a bad thing. But unfortunately, sometimes we're using food as a little bit of a solution to some of those negative feelings. And that's where stress eating really comes into play. And the thing is that it works for about 1 second. So it'll give you those good feelings, but it's not resolving the thing that's causing you the stress. It's not really helping you long term. So it's hard because people are choosing something that does work for a moment, but oftentimes leaves you, especially if you're choosing really, let's say, poor choices for your body, it leaves you feeling worse than before. And unfortunately, eating really poorly for our body, a lot of processed foods, sugary stuff, can actually increase those feelings of anxiety and stress. Certainly, I wouldn't feel good if I had a stomach ache. So it's a little tricky.
Right, right. Absolutely. And I like that you said what's good for your body, because, what's good for my body might not be good for someone else's body and the level of stress that I have or someone else has. So how do you feel that stress really affects your eating habits? How does it really correlate, with overeating or undereating? Because,
Yeah.
thing.
Uh-huh. So you hit the bullseye. I was just going to say that depends on the person. Some people feel really stressed and they overeat. Some people feel really stressed and they stop eating, because it's just every individual is a little bit different in how they handle and react to things. And maybe that's what they saw growing up. Maybe that's just how their body biology works. It's a lot of different factors involved. What I would say is one of the things that can really help kind of be proactive in preventing these is just making sure that you have, let's say, your routine of the things that you like to eat for breakfast, that you like to eat for lunch, dinner, and you're maintaining some sort of schedule. Make sure you're not going super, super long without eating, because when our blood sugar is low, that feeling of stress, we don't handle it nearly as well as if we had had a good meal and feel a lot more kind of in equilibrium.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because you know what? Sometimes people think that if I don't eat, I'm going to be good for the rest of the day. You know how sometimes people, especially since Thanksgiving is coming up, I'm not going to eat the whole day so
Yeah.
that I, just eat anything that I want during the holiday season. How, that has a negative effect on you, right?
Oh, 100%. So, first of all, your body doesn't run very well without fuel. So let's imagine we're all a fire. You can't just throw all the logs in at once and imagine that you're going to feel great for 24 hours. So you need to fuel that fire to have it burning bright, have you feeling your best. Thanksgiving is definitely a day where people are like, well, I'm not going to eat the whole day. Honestly, you're probably going to be a little bit hangry. If there's anyone in your family you would get in a fight with, if you're hungry, you're going to get in a fight with them. And then it doesn't really amplify how much you can eat for Thanksgiving. So what I usually tell people to do is, if there's some special things at Thanksgiving where there could be a little bit of leftovers, go ahead, have a normal plate, and then ask, especially if it's another family member that made it, can I just take a little bit of leftover so I can enjoy this again tomorrow? And then that way you don't feel so much pressure, like it has to be on Thanksgiving Day.
Right, right, right. Absolutely. It's definitely a change in mindset as to how you eat. And
Yes.
and how do you think the relationship with food? Because, like you said earlier, we're taught to eat when we're to soothe.
Mm.
How do you feel that your relationship with food plays into how you really deal with the stress eating?
Yeah, so that is something I work on with a lot of my clients, where they're coming into counseling, nutrition counseling with me with a lot of ideas about food. Maybe some people are coming to a little bit of an unhealthy relationship that you have to restrict, and that food is the enemy, or that food can be that solution for emotional issues. What I really like to move forward to is, how can we use food as fuel? How can food make us feel good? How can food keep our bodies healthy? It's hard because it will never stop being other things too. Food will still be nostalgia. You'll still want to have that certain thing to remember your childhood or a favorite family member that's passed. And that's okay. There's definitely room for that flexibility. I think just having less of almost an animosity with food, of like food is the enemy, and more of how can I be friends with food and use it to feel my best. But that's a process. I mean, all think about how many situations and meals that you had with a different perspective. Now you have to practice a new perspective. So
Right.
it takes a while to kick in for sure.
Yeah, especially since you didn't create these food habits overnight.
No.
So,
Yeah.
it's not like they're going to dissipate overnight as well. It does take some consistency and some willpower to really, just sit and be with yourself and learn what's best for your body.
Definitely. And something that sometimes helps people, it depends what kind of person you are. Sometimes people find it helpful to speak about it. Sometimes people find it helpful to journal about it and have those moments of reflection of, all right, you know what, that meal was really tough, or this brought up a lot of negative memories, and I'm kind of struggling with it, and kind of just take that moment or two to work through those feelings, and reflect on them.
Right. Well, I guess a lot of times, and I don't know if we all really understand that the way we feel kind of operates how we eat,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
and it takes time to really sort through your own feelings to get to a healthy meal for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so much of mind body connection. When we're fueling our body well, our mind is happier. You can concentrate more. You can feel like, let's say, a stressor comes your way. Okay, that's not so bad. But I don't know about you, but if I am super hungry or my stomach hurts and then something comes at me, I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. So
Right.
it goes both ways. Yeah, but it's tough.
Do you think, what do you think is the most important rule during the holidays and stress eating? What do you think is the number one rule that
I think, yeah, I think the number one rule is almost, it's kind of hard, but acknowledge. So acknowledge whatever feelings are happening. Acknowledge these stressors that are coming your way. The holidays are hard. People have lost loved ones. Maybe you're feeling grief. Maybe you're feeling sadness or disappointment. This year has been very crazy for the country. So maybe this holiday season is not looking the same. Maybe someone's still very cautious with COVID, so they can't come visit because they don't want to travel. All of these new things are coming our way. And so you may be having a lot of feelings. And so it's much better. So this, I would say for the holidays in general, is try to get ahead of those feelings, acknowledge I'm feeling really upset about this, because then you can, it's so much easier to take that and put it in the light and react to it rather than bury it. And then suddenly you've eaten 3 pieces of cheesecake and had 4 drinks and you're like, ooh, I don't feel so good, but you're just kind of trying to cope with something that's very upsetting for you.
right? Absolutely, absolutely. I can definitely relate to what you're saying there. Absolutely. Someone said, I think it's so story says, I'm focusing on my body's signals.
That's great. Yeah. I
Such an
think that,
point, isn't it?
yeah, I think that's great all year round.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Because your body will tell you what you need as
oh,
far as
100.
well, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, it's funny though, I will say, so the connection has to be strengthened. Sometimes if you've been ignoring those signals for a very long time, they may be very quiet and then you have to listen very hard. So for example, I know a lot of my clients that I've worked with, just were never in the habit of drinking water. And so they actually didn't feel that thirsty. And then we suddenly got up to, let's say, the 7, 8 glasses of water that they should be drinking a day. And they're like, wow, I really want it now. And so it sometimes the body is kind of whispering at you, like, you need more water, but you're not listening. So then it just gives up. So
Absolutely. Is there a way for people to tell the difference between like I want to eat because I'm stressful,
Mm.
then versus I want to eat because I'm actually hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to really realize that?
Yeah, I mean, I would think about what you're wanting to eat. So if you're hungry, a salad sounds great. If you're hungry, vegetable soup sounds great. Like anything sounds great because you just want food. If you're stressed and you're looking for something to eat, then you're going for the sweets usually, or some people don't really crave sweets. They go for more like the crunchy, salty snacks as like almost an indulgence because both of those kind of hit our endorphins in a certain way. Like processed snacks are very much manufactured to be irresistible. And then the sugar, of course, our body says, "Ooh, give me more, give me more." So both of those are kind of craveable things. So if that's the only thing that you're hungry for, you may be looking for comfort food rather than I'm just hungry and I need food.
Right. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. That does make if you're bored or if you're stressed, you're gonna definitely look for the things that comfort you first.
Uh-huh.
Now, someone said that they don't like water. Tell me, how can one? And thank you, you got the best of my love for asking that. How can someone learn to like water just a little bit better? Are there little tricks that we can put in there to help
Yeah.
them?
That's a great question. So you can kind of spice it up sometimes. So maybe you put in slices of lime or lemon or orange. So it gets a little bit of like infused water flavor. And I mean, you could go crazy and make it like spa water with mint and cucumber. Sometimes people just get bored with the kind of lack of flavor. So you could do seltzer water that at least has the bubbles. You can do like herbal teas. You could drink that all day long. And other ways to kind of spice it up. Iced tea. Oh, and change the temperature too. So sometimes people really don't like drinking cold water in the winter because it's cold. And you could just drink hot water all day long.
Right, right, right. Is that good for your digestion? The
Oh,
warm work
great
better.
question. Yeah. So, okay, there's a lot of different cultures' beliefs on this. So, for example, like traditional Chinese medicine really does not recommend super, super cold water. It's more just warm water to be at your kind of body's temperature closer to. Um, it depends. If you have, like, for example, some irritable bowel syndrome or IBS, or maybe when you consume something very cold or very hot, you feel like your stomach is not dealing with it so well, then perhaps go towards more the middle temperature, like warm to hot instead of very, very hot. But otherwise, especially if anyone errs on the side of more constipation, having the hot water, having the cold water is actually kind of stimulating for our digestive system, tells our digestive system, come on, like let's move things along. So that could be helpful.
Right, right. And if you're digesting well, then you tend to eat better?
I
Or
think so. I don't feel like I have very much of an appetite if I'm very constipated. It feels like, ooh, I don't feel comfortable right now.
and you got the best of my love says, what about using crystal light in water?
Oh, that's a great question too. So I really, I say with all the artificial sweeteners, try to kind of be sparing with your use of them. Unfortunately, the artificial sweeteners aren't so great for us for a couple of reasons. One, it sends the message, like it tastes sweet. So your brain sends the message, hey, we've got sugar coming in. Go ahead and release some insulin to be able to take that sugar and put it where it needs to go. But there's no actual sugar being digested. There's no glucose. So now you may actually, if you're just consuming, let's say, a diet drink, you might actually feel lower blood sugar afterwards because the insulin's been released, but there's nothing to bring it in. So it just picks up whatever glucose or sugar is floating around in your bloodstream. And then another thing, I'm not a big super fan of artificial sweeteners, is that they're not so helpful for the good gut bacteria. So if anyone's heard about the gut microbiome and having good bacteria versus too much of the bad bacteria, the artificial sweeteners aren't so helpful in that way either.
Right, right. And that's interesting. I'm glad that you brought up the gut bacteria and how that can also play a role in how we're feeling with lupus and the symptoms that come about, correct?
Yes, 100%. So if we have any sort of, let's say, off-kilter gut bacteria, there's there's actually quite a lot of things. Like certainly food poisoning is a very blatant example of like, oh no, you got salmonella or E. coli, and then you have food poisoning. But our gut bacteria can be off-kilter in a lot of ways and cause those digestive symptoms. Can worsen our inflammation, can interfere with feeling like higher energy too.
Right, right, right. And it's depleting us in some way, in shape,
Yeah.
form. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I learn all the time. Every time I speak to you, I learn something new, and I love that because you're a wealth of information, and it's such great information for everyone to have.
Thank you. You are a very talented interviewer.
Oh, thank you, thank you. But I want to continue on that gut bacteria, and how do you get your gut kind of right with the holidays coming up? We're going to indulge some.
Yes.
We're going to have that drink. It's all about balance. We're going to have that sweet, we're going to have that salty or whatever have you. But like you said earlier, it's all about the balance and how you do that. But how do you begin to condition your body to understand what you need to do for your body food wise?
Yeah, great question. So, I think there's a lot of approaches to this. So, for good gut bacteria, for getting your body acclimated to a new way of eating, I would say as much as we can, like let's say, for example, you're craving apple pie. Maybe wait for, I don't know, your great Aunt Nellie's famous apple pie that you're super excited about, and don't get what's that little girl's, the brands that, oh, Little Debbie. Don't get the Little Debbie apple pie because that's not going to satisfy you. So when you are craving the apple pie, I'm sure Great Aunt Nellie makes it from apples and cinnamon and rolls out that dough. You're getting something a lot more unprocessed. So throughout all of the weeks, that's actually really good for the gut microbiome, is try to do as unprocessed as possible.
Mm.
So fresh veggies or frozen veggies, those are fine too. More, let's say, instead of like a TV dinner or frozen dinner or canned soup, try to do things that are more homemade. And you can always compile things too. It doesn't all have to be from scratch where you go pick it from a field. Like you can use things like tomato paste to kind of speed up the recipe, but you're still using let's say fresh onions or fresh garlic, and yeah, and getting that balance. But for gut microbiome, those fresh things are really, really important. The veggies have a lot of fiber, which helps the good bacteria grow. You've got those antioxidants and phytochemicals, so that helps.
And that's good to know too, because I think a lot of time we're so busy, we're always just running to just go and pick something up, and let's get this pot pie, the frozen section, and put it in. But if
Yeah.
we just kind of stop and really begin to plan, we can dramatically change how we're eating.
Yes, definitely. And that's one of my biggest things all year round, but specifically for the holiday season, because there's so many commitments and events kind of pulling you in every direction. As much as you can, planning ahead, doing things in bulk. Maybe all of the events are in the evening time. So then focus on, I'm going to make sure I have.
Uh-oh, I think your volume went down. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you're back.
That was my Instagram. I have like those time limits on my Instagram, so I'm not playing on it all day talking to people. And so that popped up. So plan ahead, because if, let's say, you have your holiday party for your office one day, you have a friend or family event another evening, if you're making sure that every breakfast you have and every lunch you have are foods that you tolerate, foods that you feel good after eating, that give you good energy, are also like a variety of food groups, then you have the wiggle room in the evenings to have something a little out of the usual for you. And hopefully you'll still feel really good. So let's say if it's breakfast time and you make an oatmeal that has like ground flaxseed and chia seeds and maybe some raisins or dried cranberries or fresh fruit that you chop up like an apple, cinnamon, that's a very like fall breakfast and it's warm. But you're going to feel a lot more energetic from that. And you've got some good fats, some good fiber, the omega-3s from the ground flaxseed, the fresh fruit or frozen fruit or dried fruit, doesn't matter. So you're starting off your day already 3 steps ahead versus the night before. And you can do that ahead of time too. You could always soak the oats in your fridge and then just add in the other toppings that morning. Save yourself a lot of time. But now, if the night before, maybe you went to a holiday office party, had a drink or two, normally you wouldn't be feeling that great, and maybe you would skip breakfast because you're just like, oh, I'm running late, I gotta go. You're gonna feel worse and worse. It's kind of gonna snowball in a negative way. So, yeah.
It definitely will. Definitely will. Doc LaShawn says, are there any foods you found to be particularly inflammatory? And are there some that you've personally found to be anti-inflammatory? That's a
great question. So it really depends on the person.
It definitely does. It definitely does. I think
yeah,
you're stuck.
Definitely depends on the person.
Oh, are you there? I hope we haven't lost her. I think she's coming back, but I'm sure she was saying it definitely depends on the person and learning your body and how food affects it and things of that nature. Are you coming back? Can't hear you. Okay, we will get you back in a minute. We will get you back in a minute. So, Story, I'm going to accept you coming on, and then we'll come back to her. So Story. I have accepted your. There we go. How are you?
Hi.
I saw you requested to be on.
No. I didn't ask anything. I was so surprised. I just showed you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Do you have any questions that you might want to ask?
No. Can I take a picture?
Absolutely. I'm so glad. If you have any questions, you can sure enough request to be back on the live.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Thank you.
What happened? I don't know what happened.
I don't know. It plays little games with us sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm dietitian back up so she can continuing her story. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
All right, let's see. I don't know how to remove you. I think you might have to remove yourself. This is so much fun. This.
Hi again.
Okay, we're back with you.
Can you remove my face?
Fine. 1 minute, Tanya. Let me remove Sorry. I don't know.
Welcome in joining.
Yeah, join.
Oh.
Yeah, this is first time. Yeah, I got a lot of information.
Oh, good.
Especially, I'm very happy to have friends. Yeah, here. Yeah, this can be increase me a lot. Yeah, to fight with this lupus. Yes.
It's
very helpful. Very helpful. Let me see.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so sorry. Let me try and.
Please.
Oh my goodness! Is there?
Do I have to exit and re-enter?
Yeah, press exit.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
This is your face.
Oh, that was so funny. I don't know what, it just kicked me out. No.
So we were talking about, what the heck were we talking about?
Things that are inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. And we were saying that it depends on the person. And it 100% does. So thankfully, everyone in this world is a little bit different, brings different beautiful perspectives to everything, but that also means our bodies work a little bit differently. So I have found some of my clients really react poorly to certain foods, and then other clients tolerate it and do really well with those foods. So it depends on your genetics. It depends on how you've been eating your entire life. Also, gut microbiome makes a big difference. So if someone's super inflamed and maybe their gut microbiome is in a really bad place where they're just having digestive issues all the time, and we get them to a much healthier place, at the end of that road, they can tolerate a lot more than they could at the beginning too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I us we have someone, Rabia is in Turkey. We have
Wow.
Queen Q Bella is from New York. So I'm so happy you all are tuning in, and please share this with your friends and your family so they can understand what what you're dealing with, and how you need to move about dealing with your lupus, and how you need to work with someone to get your lupus in check through food. There was a question that I just saw. We also have Marilarte from the UK. We have got a lot of good people here from all over the country, and I love it. I love it. We all need to have this information. Lacey84 says, how do you get rid of bloating?
Oh, great question. So it depends on what is the cause of the bloating. So sometimes people are lactose intolerant and they'll have something with a little bit of dairy and feel very bloated, very gassy, because essentially the lactose is just sitting in your digestive system. You don't have, for some people, enough lactase, the enzyme, to break it apart. And so it's just kind of sitting there, your body doesn't know what to do with it, and it's not getting digested properly. Can cause a lot of gas, diarrhea, and bloating. Sometimes people bloat because they eat too fast and you're not chewing your food really thoroughly. That can cause stomach discomfort and bloating. Again, because basically you have something in your digestive system that your body's not really digesting so well, and so that produces a lot of gas too.
So we have a couple of other questions. I know Young got the best of me, best of my love, asked earlier about carpal tunnels and lupus.
Mm-hmm.
Similar. I don't know if lupus really creates carpal tunnel, but it can, I'm sure. I'm not sure if food would really create that. But then we have Larte. I hope I'm saying that right, darling. Could my lupus have triggered diverticulitis?
Oh, great question. So unfortunately, autoimmune and digestive issues, it's certainly autoimmune. Lupus is like one permutation of it. And many people with lupus also have other autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's or Raynaud's or uh, Sjogren's. There's a lot of things. So when your immune system is just kind of a little off kilter and having some trouble, it can kind of come out in different ways. Diverticulitis is not necessarily an autoimmune disease, but unfortunately, if you're having a lot of digestive distress, if you're having a lot of autoimmune kind of activity, then you're also having a lot of inflammation in your body. So I can't say that lupus caused that, but the body is all intertwined. There is no one part that works in isolation. Everything gets messages from other parts of the body. So if you have one diagnosis, it's certainly interacting with another diagnosis.
And that's important that you just said that. I was getting ready to lead into another area that you actually kind of got us to, and that was how the whole body and the mind and the spirit all work together. And sometimes our eating habits are just like they are habits. Change the way we look at food, the way we relate to food. How do you teach someone how to really change their mindset about what food is and what it does for them?
Whew, it's a tough one. It takes practice, just like any new habit. Let's say you tied your shoe on the right side first for the first 25 years of your life. It is going to feel really weird to tie the left shoe first for the first maybe 6 months, year. It's a new habit. So you kind of have to have those neural pathways in your brain as practiced, or have as many rounds going through that new behavior to make it feel a little bit more comfortable. So I think it sounds silly, but repeating affirmations to yourself can be something that helps get that kind of the road paved. And so then it becomes easier with time. So maybe Food is not the enemy. Food can help me heal. Food can help me feel good, especially if you've had any struggles with any sort of restrictive or disordered eating in the past. Sometimes people have really like emotional and fraught relationships with food. Maybe when they were a teenager, they were really trying to diet all the time and started to get an oppositional relationship with food, like food is the enemy. So just repeating to yourself, food is good for me, food is good for me, food can help me heal, food is my friend. All of those things, those affirmations can be helpful. And then talking with your friends and family, asking for support, really checking in too with that mind body connection. So after you eat a meal that you know is food that makes you feel good, that's healthy for you, check in with yourself. Say, oh wow, I noticed that that joint that always used to hurt me isn't hurting so much right now. My stomach isn't hurting. I feel more energy. I slept much better last night. And then check in with yourself when it's maybe a hard day. Maybe you ate something that you know isn't the best for you. And you can check in, oh, yeah, maybe I've got a little acid reflux or had a little bit of gas or bloating.
Right, absolutely. And just giving yourself some grace. Don't beat yourself up if you had a few extra drinks or you had, a extra piece of cake or something. But giving yourself some grace also to have those times where you might not eat salads all the time and you might, splurge a little bit on yourself with that. And I find that sometimes we don't give ourselves enough grace with that.
100%. And actually, that's super important during the holiday season because sometimes maybe you walk into, I don't know, if it's a holiday party and there's a lot of appetizers and drinks and things like that, you may be thinking to yourself, no, I'm going to only eat the healthy stuff and not have any of this stuff. And then you're putting yourself into kind of the extreme. So you're restricting too much. And then often what we do is overeat or overindulge. Like, well, I had a bite of, I don't know, whatever it may be, like those wrapped fried cheese things. I had a bite of that, whatever that is. And forget it. Now I messed up, so I'm going to have 10 of them.
Right.
Whereas if you go in with a little bit more grace, hey, there's a lot more food that I don't usually have access to. Maybe it's not the healthiest, but I'm going to have a couple bites of stuff and then try to find the stuff that I know makes me feel my best and balance it out. So you have a little bit of the out of the normal and usual foods as well. And you're going to feel a lot better that way versus the no, I'm not going to have any of it. And then you may go on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. I always tell my husband, you can have some of it. You just can't have the whole cake. Know what I mean? Don't beat yourself up. Don't make it so hard for yourself. Let's see. We have a little bit of questions and then we're going to start wrapping up. Cause bloating because I used to eat a lot. I love food. Now I hardly eat. And I think that could be a combination of things, whether it be medications or the symptoms that she might be experiencing and things of that nature. But how does the food cause bloating? Like you said, the lactose, it could be a number of different things, correct?
Anything that your body's not digesting well usually causes some bloating. If you're, again, not chewing the food well so that there's bigger pieces than your body likes to handle. Also, maybe if it's just like a little greasier or higher in fat than you're ready for or used to, that actually slows down your digestion. So you may find, ooh, that's really sitting on my stomach heavier than I would normally experience. So that can all kind of give that sensation of fullness and bloating and discomfort.
Got you. Awesome. That's a great answer. You got the best of my love says, every time I read her name, I want to sing. She says, my stomach is always hurting and I have bad reflux. Is there something natural that she can use to take care of that reflux?
Well, great question. So usually, and this is how I approach things with all my clients, not that we're going to put anything on top to help with the reflux. Like, for example, sometimes people take a lot of Tums. What I would suggest is let's look at where the cause of that reflux is coming from. What sort of habits you're having, what sort of food maybe is not agreeing with you. Maybe it's nothing about how you're eating. Maybe it's a medication, just as you were mentioning before, that's causing you to get that acid reflux. Maybe it's how you're sitting or laying down that's just causing it not to work well with your body. So I would always say, let's examine the habits or the things that probably are causing the reflux before we add in something, because it's going to be a Band-Aid. Versus if we approach it from where it's coming from, then we can just resolve it from the start.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that would just be a Band-Aid, which is what a lot of people are just doing. Just putting that little Band-Aid over, as opposed to really getting to the issue as to how you are eating and what you're putting in your body. I often tell a lot of people that if what I've done personally is that I keep a list of foods that I eat, so that I can know what food caused the bloating or headache or whatever. I try to keep control of that and go back to being consistent and just learning your body and learning how to really work with yourself and getting out of those habits that might cause us some issues later on.
Yeah, definitely. I will say it's kind of tricky though, for like, let's say someone that wants to solve something but isn't quite sure where to start. I've been counseling people in nutrition for a very long time, and it it's not like you can just Google the answer, because everyone is so different. And because our eating habits, you're not eating the exact same thing at every meal every day. So I can understand how people feel very overwhelmed and they're like, well, I'm really uncomfortable right now. So I'll take the thing that solves the problem, because the root cause, it's more complicated. It may need professional help.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's important for you to, like you said earlier, acknowledge that issue is there and then find the help that you need. And you have to give yourself that grace again, to find what you need to do to make yourself healthier. I wanted to address this question that Lacey84 had. Just only drinking water for the day, I still get bloating and no food, and she wanted to know why. Now, to push that into something else, but I want you to go ahead and answer that.
Sure. So the reason why you're getting bloating is that your stomach acid is continually producing. It doesn't matter if you're only drinking water, if you're not consuming anything with food, your stomach thinks, well, something has to be coming sometime anyway. So that digestive process doesn't stop if you're not giving it anything, but it can produce a lot of discomfort and gases if you're not consuming things. So please don't go all day without eating and only drinking water. Please do eat things. And if anybody, I'm sorry, what did you say, Rebecca?
Put some nourishment in your body, correct?
Yes. Yes. And if anybody needs that one-on-one nutrition help, that is what I do. So feel free to reach out. I would love to help you find something that helps you feel better.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. I love that you stated that. That helps you feel better. Not to cure anything, but to help you feel better. And in a sense, that gives you some type of healing and a source of a cure, so to speak. I think with that one, I wanted to go into intermittent fasting. And how does that play a role in stress eating, especially during the holidays? We talked about it a little earlier, but I wanted to get into that. A lot of people are into this new thing that intermittent fasting is what they're doing. How do you do that and keep a healthy, I guess, eating regimen throughout the rest of the day?
Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of people that take intermittent fasting and use it to basically justify just not having breakfast and going the morning with having a coffee and then going till lunchtime. But that's not the type of intermittent fasting that has been shown to be the most helpful. The most helpful intermittent fasting I've seen in clients and thousands of people is front loading your day. Is having a heavier breakfast, a medium-sized lunch, maybe a smaller early dinner, because presumably you're fueling your body during the times when you're most active, and then also giving your body time to digest that dinner before you go to bed.
Hmm. Uh-oh, your sound went out.
We don't want you to be hungry going to bed. That's not going to help you feel your best either. So the window also shouldn't be like a huge window of no eating, or your eating window should be kind of moderate. So let's say if you eat breakfast at 7 and you want to have maybe a 10 or 11-hour eating window and have your dinner at 6 and then be done, that could be a very healthy way and has been actually linked, if weight loss was the goal, with the most amount of weight loss. Now, granted, a lot of the research on intermittent fasting was done mostly on men, which women's bodies do function much differently. We are on a monthly cycle, men are on a 24-hour cycle. So the day that you feel great, maybe it's not your period. Doing the intermittent fasting, maybe a day on your period, you may be much more tired, much more in need of the nutrition throughout the day. So I do say just take it with a grain of salt. Again, reflect on how your body is feeling, really focus on, well, I ate this at this time and this is how I felt, versus, well, this is what the diet tells me to do, because diets don't work for everyone at all.
Love you didn't next issue. And, talking about how, dieting might not be the way. It's more about changing your eating habits more than using a specific diet to achieve a result that you're looking for. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And even with my lupus clients, okay, we all have lupus. Presumably, we're all on the same page. However, I really don't have a lupus diet that I prescribe. With each and every client, I get a list of, tell me all of the foods that you like, that you don't like, the foods that make you feel your best, the foods that you've noticed really don't make you feel that good. And then we figure out what works for them. So I always take, like, let's say the first name of a client, I don't know, Mary. We have a Mary lupus diet. And then if I had another client, I don't know, Lucy, I'm just picking really ridiculous names. Then she gets a Lucy diet. So it's always customized to the person.
It's definitely personalized what you're doing also, because that's important, because like you said, everybody is not the same. We can't all eat the same things. If we were, we'd just be clones of each other, right?
Exactly. I mean, I say this all the time and people always think like, oh, wow, that makes sense. But it feels the way that our media tells us how to lose weight or diet or be healthy. So if you put 100 people all in the same room and you had them all exercise the exact same and eat all the exact same, they will still all have different bodies, different digestion, different energy levels. Now, it could certainly alter those three things, but we are not all the same. And so we need different things.
Absolutely. If someone said that when it's hard to eat when your stomach hurts all the time or when you're nauseous, it definitely is. It definitely is. I guess it's about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Getting you have to get those nutrients in. You have to get those nutrients in to feel better and to be well, beyond all those symptoms. So what would be your one tip to get past that whole stomach aching and the whole nausea and all that stuff? What would be one of your tips that you would give for that?
Yeah. So let's say, I'm sure we've all had this where you felt like you had the flu or you had a cold and you felt like you just didn't feel like eating anything. So whatever the safest food for you is, maybe it's crackers, maybe it's white rice, maybe it's just something super, super plain, a banana, whatever that may be. Just having little bites of that throughout the day to at least give your body something to start working on, again, gives you the sugar and the glucose to at least just function, also gives your stomach acid something to start digesting. And then maybe you'll feel less nauseous. Also, ginger tea is really good for that. Then you'll feel less nauseous and can start incorporating other things.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Great idea. And it works. It works if you just have to try it. You have to get past the fear of having that stomach ache and having that nausea in order to really get to that point. I have one more question that I'm going to take, and I see it is from Jerry. She said, I'm concerned that the Benlysta is not working as well. Does this happen? That's probably a little bit off topic. Well,
Yeah.
any medicine that you're taking, and I'll just start off with any medicine that you're taking, um, will work for a certain period of time, and it might taper you as your body changes, and as you eat different things, your body is going to change, of course. That it might not work as well as it started out with because your body was different. The other thing about Benlysta, because I'm on Benlysta, I can, kind of attest to this. It has its different phases. It'll start working, and then as your body changes, as you change your eating habits, it'll work a different way.
Mm.
So with your doctor about how you can, level all that out. Maybe your dosage needs to be changed and things of that nature. But with that, I'll come to Tanya with when you're taking all this medication, it's so important to eat and so important to eat the right things. How do you balance that all out?
Yeah, great question. So definitely with the medications, always talk to your doctors, because just as we were talking about that mind-body connection, you are not stable. You are not the same person you were 3 months ago or 6 months ago. Maybe during the summertime, you were feeling much better. Now during the cold weather, you're feeling a little bit different. Maybe you have different stressors. So that all interacts with how the medications are working too. In terms of the diet and medications, of course, always talk to your doctors and the pharmacist to make sure certain foods don't interact with medications. That's something that happens sometimes. Grapefruit, for example, is a delightful fruit, but it interacts with a lot of medication. So we have to be careful with things like that. But also as you change, so for example, I've counseled many, many diabetics. As they eat healthier, their insulin metabolism and sensitivity changes. Now suddenly their medications are making their sugars too low. So that's one way, for example. Or if you're feeling better, you're having less inflammation as someone with lupus or an autoimmune disease, the medication may be too strong. You may get to taper down a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's amazing. I don't. I, I didn't realize it until I got lupus, how important food was for my body and to regulate things in my body, and how important it was to really get my mind in the right place with my eating habits and things of that nature. So definitely good information. And I want to be respectful of your time. We've been on here for about 50 minutes. So, and I know you have other things that you have to do. I know you have another group that you want to talk to later on. So I want you to end us off with 5 tips, if you can, to just stay kind of, I guess, not healthy, but, just stay in the realm of feeling good with the food that we're eating.
Definitely. Okay, so first and foremost, especially during the holiday season, just acknowledging where you are right now, what feelings you're having, how stressed you are, what is in your bandwidth. So that's like almost a little bit of taking stock of, okay, where am I? What can I do? What don't I have the energy to do? So that's the first and foremost tip, because then you're checking out the landscape. The second would be to strategize and be proactive. So if you can plan ahead, do some things in bulk, that will save you time later on. And also maybe think about the sorts of foods that are really comforting for you. Maybe it's like a chicken vegetable soup. Maybe it is, I don't know, any type of soup. I'm just thinking soups for the colder months.
Right.
Yeah, but having those in a time where you have a little bit more food prep time, and freezing those leftovers can really help when you're in a pinch, when you're in a hurry, you really don't have the bandwidth. So being proactive and planning ahead is really helpful. Back to strategizing, that I think is more for a lot of people with autoimmune and lupus have some difficulties feeling the energy all the time that they need. Fatigue is really a symptom that unfortunately comes up a lot. So strategize your holiday season. Let's say you've got invites for, I don't know, a holiday office party, some stuff with your kids, your grandkids, extended family, friends. You have all of these things that you want to do, maybe holiday traditions like going to get a Christmas tree or ice skating, whatever that may look like. Think about all of the things that usually come up during the holiday season, and then try to figure out what is most important to me. What is going to bring me the most joy? What should I really make the effort to have the energy for? And then if there's something in there that is not that great, say no. You don't need to say yes to everything. You can say no and save that energy. And also the kind of the mental space for the things that really, really make you happy. So that's 3 tips. Let me see, 2 more for eating healthy and through the holidays. Get your rest. Make sure to take the time to get enough sleep. And then also just prioritize other forms of self-care. So we all need alone time. You need to have that regenerative, maybe you quietly read, maybe take a bath, maybe you have a cup of hot tea, whatever that looks like for you. But make sure that self-care is also on the schedule. Because not having any self-care is really going to sap your energy as well, and maybe interfere with the things that you were most excited about doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Those are great tips. Awesome, awesome tips. I want to thank you so much for just reaching out and talking with us and giving us your great information. Always so good to speak with you and to get the information, wealth of information. But I want to give everyone that's on this live an opportunity to get in touch with you. So I want them to know that you are a professional dietitian that knows what she's doing, and they can contact you if they have any questions or if they want to get some help from you as far as their diet and their eating regimen is concerned. So would you give us your information, let's say your Instagram, your website, and things of that nature?
Yes.
I'm typing it all in the
Oh,
chat.
thank you. So I keep it really simple. If you just type in The Lupus Dietitian, you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok. I don't do that much on TikTok, but I'm there too. And that's my website too, www.thelupusdietitian.com. I actually have a new little free mini course. So if anyone wants to take advantage of that and access those videos, just DM me the word course, COURSE, like a school course or educational course. And then I'll send it right over. And just DM me too. Send me a message. Say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. I could use your help. I have been a registered dietitian for a long time. I am licensed, credentialed. So I absolutely love helping people feel their best. And it's something that is really empowering, because unfortunately when we're diagnosed with these diseases, it can feel like everything is out of my control. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. And choosing what you're eating 3-4 times a day from one bite versus another can make a huge difference in how you feel. And that's all within your control. It's just oftentimes we don't exactly know what to do. There's a lot of conflicting information out there. So let me make it simple for you.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that you just got to just do it. Just contact you and DM her and talk to her about what you need, and she can help you. So thank you so much, Tanya. I so appreciate your time and everyone tuning in. And this will end our Healthy Kitchen for the day.
Thank you so much. You are the best interviewer. I love your questions. I love coming on lives with you, and we'll have to plan another one soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tanya. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for coming on, and we will talk to you again soon. Please reach out to the Lupus Dietitian here on Instagram, thelupusdietitian.com, on the internet. And she also has a little mini course for you where if you DM her the word course, COURSE, she will give you a little discount. Let's go.
Woo.
So thank you, guys, and I appreciate you all tuning in. You all have a great, great day. We will replay this here on Instagram, and we will put it on Facebook and YouTube as well. All right. So thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.